Euphigenia pushed open the drawing-room door and walked in. A mother and an older woman were seated chatting. The older woman had grey hair and was dressed in burgundy. She was tall and had sharp cheekbones. Upon her entrance, the two ladies turned to look at Euphigenia, who felt incredibly far away at this point, even though the drawing-room was not particularly large. "Ah, Euphigenia, there you are," her mother said in a soft and poised voice. "Please come and sit down." Euphigenia bashfully sat down across from the two ladies. She could feel the older woman's eyes burrowing into her head, as though she was trying to read her thoughts. The woman turned to Maria and said, "Oh yes, she is very pretty." Maria smiled and turned to her daughter. "Euphigenia, this is Lady Asquith, the Dowager Viscountess of Pembroke and mother of Lord Asquith, the current Viscount," she said, as though she'd rehearsed the introduction several times. Euphigenia nodded at the Countess. "How do you do?" she asked. The Viscountess raised an eyebrow. "It's very nice to meet you at last, Euphigenia. I've heard so many wonderful things about you from the correspondence between your mother and I." Euphigenia forced a polite smile so as not to reveal the awkwardness lurking behind. "I came here today to inform you of the alterations of the plans to marry my son," she continued. Euphigenia's ears pricked up. He wondered excitedly. "Your wedding to my son will take place in 4 weeks' time." Euphigenia was stunned. "4 weeks?" she said. "Yes," replied the Viscountess. "That's very soon. Surely that leaves little time to arrange all the necessary—" "All the necessary arrangements have been made," the Viscountess interrupted. "You will accompany me to Brampton Castle today." "Today?" cried a startled Euphigenia. She turned to Maria. "But, mother, that's so soon. I was hoping to finish my studies." "Euphigenia, my goodness, what are your manners? You should be thanking her ladyship," said her mother. "This is very pleasing news." The Viscountess spoke. "Your studies will have to wait for now. There are more important matters to draw your attention to. You are to be the next Viscountess of Brampton, and that will be your life from now on. The Asquiths, as I am sure your mother has told you, are one of the South West's most distinguished and wealthiest families, a family fortune built on sheep farming. This marriage and providing an heir to my son is all that you should be focusing on now." Euphigenia looked at her mother, who couldn't return her gaze. It was clear to her this was out of her control. The carriage pulled through the gates of Brampton Castle. The tall grey stone house was built in the 12th century and had been the ancestral home of the Asquith family for all of these years. The carriage came to a halt at the main door, and Dorothea and Euphigenia were helped out by a footman. A tall, elderly man greeted them at the steps of the house. It was Winshaft, the butler. "Good evening, your ladyship," he said in a local tone. "I trust you had a pleasant journey from London." "It was pleasant enough, thank you, Winshaft," she dryly replied. "Is the Viscount ready to receive us?" "His lordship told me to tell you he's in the drawing-room, milady." "Lovely. Could you take Miss Havisham's things to her room, Winshaft?" "Yes, milady," he obediently replied. As a scurry of footmen grappled with Euphigenia's suitcases, which had been hastily packed only that morning, the young Miss Havisham apprehensively followed the Viscountess into the castle. Inside, the entrance was a grand wooden staircase with paintings of the previous Viscounts placed in precise spots on the wall in descending order. The current Viscount's portrait was the first at the foot of the stairs. It showed a strikingly handsome, blonde-haired man in his 20s, with an assortment of basset hounds at his feet. Euphigenia took a moment to look at the painting. This was the first time she had seen him, the man her mother had talked about for so long, the man that was to be her husband. "Come along, dear," quipped the Viscountess. Euphigenia hastened behind as they walked into the drawing-room. The Viscount had his arm rested on the mantelpiece, holding a glass of whisky. He was handsome, with curly blonde hair and bushy sideburns that framed a square jaw and blue eyes. His nose was pretty and his lips soft, and he held his chin high as men of social standing did. He turned to see his mother and the young Miss Havisham enter the room. "Mamma, there you are," he snarled. Fidgey immediately could see that he was drunk. "Hello, darling. A little early for whiskey, isn't it? Snidely remarked. Mummy, I'm celebrating. I shot that bloody stag this morning that's been eluding me for weeks. I am pleased, darling. Now, allow me to introduce— No need to tell me, Gerard said, fixing his gaze on Euphigenia as though she were that poor stag. Hello there. Hello, Euphigenia meekly responded. Aside to his mother he turned. She is very pretty, pleased. I told you, she replied quietly. She leaned in and whispered something in his ear. Gerard chuckled to himself. Mummy, perhaps you should leave myself and my fiancée alone, so we can get properly acquainted. The Viscountess drew a wry smile. Of course, dear. I shall join you at dinner. And with that she swept out of the room. As the door closed behind her, Fidgy felt scared. Gerard slowly walked towards her. Does it please you that we are to be married? Not really, thought Fidgy, but she was smart enough not to disagree with the drunken man. Yes, I'm very pleased. The words almost made her choke. Good. I like pleasing, and I like to be pleased. He drew closer, his gaze fixated now upon her soft, pale chest. As husband and wife, there must never be secrets between us. You must share everything with me. And now tell me, have you laid with a man before? Fidgy's face turned red and she looked away. No, she said. I wouldn't until I married. Ah, what a good little virgin you are. His head thrust forward and he tried to kiss her lips, grabbing her breast as he did. Fidgy backed away, disgusted. Please, I think I should get ready for dinner. But the Viscount was in no mood to listen to her whimsical pleas. That morning's hunt had given him a thirst for lust, and he desired coitus with the young virgin. He took her arm and threw her face down onto the couch. He seized her undergarments, ripped them down, and pulled out his throbbing member. Ah! Squealed Euphigenia as she felt the insertion of the dashing Viscount's love rod. Please, go gently, she pleaded. He pounded her like a cook's mallet to a slab of beef. Suddenly, in walked limping Nell, the scullery maid born with a club foot. Startled by the appearance of her master penetrating the young Miss Havisham on the couch, she simply fumbled, begging your pardon, sir, I was coming in to light the fire. This room is occupied, you lurching oaf, cried the angry Viscount. Now get out! As she scuttled away, Euphigenia was relieved at the short respite Nell's interruption had caused. After he had finished, he put his penis away and went to pour another whiskey. Fidgy arranged herself again, slightly shaken and confused. Laying with a man wasn't what she had expected, but then, she was soon to discover, nothing ever was.